I'm happy to say I've put Duet Night Abyss through its paces, and during this video I'll be giving it a rating on 10 separate categories, as well as a final rating at the end of the video. Let's get into it. Right out of the gate, Duet Night Abyss nails its pacing. The intro doesn't waste your time. You're thrown into this high-stakes moment that clearly matters, even if you don't fully get it yet. There's this tension in the air, and just when you're starting to piece it together, you get yanked back in time, memory wiped. You don't know where you are, and neither does your character. The way they walk you through everything, movement, then weapons, is tight. No slow pans, no clunky tutorials, just here's how you move, here's how you fight, now go survive. And once you've got a weapon in hand, you're in it. 10 enemies come at you, then 10 more, you're immediately doing work. Combat just clicks, and you feel like you belong in the fight right away. One of the best early moments is when the game loops you back to that cutscene from the very beginning, the one you didn't understand yet, and now it lands. Then it throws you into a boss fight. Not some tutorial punching bag, a real fight. You feel ready, it feels good, and you're locked in. After that, the game opens up but keeps its momentum. You hit the city, and more systems start showing up. Main quests, side quests, exploration, challenges. It all blends into a flow that never breaks. You're always moving towards something. Whether it's a new mechanic, a new area, or just the next fight, the game keeps feeding you without wasting your energy. And even with all that constant stacking up, it never feels like it's padding things out. The world feels full without turning into busy work. You're just playing, learning, unlocking, progressing, and nothing gets in the way of that. Normally, I skip most of the story in games like this, and I still did a lot of that here, but not all of it. The major scenes were delivered in a way that actually made me want to watch. They felt cinematic and important, so I did what I never do. I let them play out. And the really crazy part, that was enough. I still walked away with a clear sense of what's going on, the key stuff stuck, and I didn't have to force myself to care. This actually made me rethink something I believed for a long time now. That if a game is going to have long text-based dialogue, it should offer some kind of summary after you've skipped it. Games like Genshin and Honkai Star Rail come to mind, where you're either stuck reading through slow conversations or risk missing key info entirely, but Duet Night Abyss makes that whole idea feel outdated. Instead of fixing weak delivery with extra summaries, they just made the important scenes watchable, cinematic, focused, and well timed, so you naturally absorb what matters without feeling like you're being lectured. That's the better solution. From that memory wipe intro to the first boss to the full-on gameplay loop later, Duet Night Abyss just doesn't lose steam. It starts strong and keeps delivering. For all of those reasons, I'm giving the pacing a 9.79 out of 10. Most gacha games make character management feel like a full-time job. You've got a 4-person squad, constant mid-combat swaps, and half your strength is locked behind some team comp puzzle that feels like it's meant to be solved with a spreadsheet. But in Duet Night Abyss, it's different, and honestly, it's a relief. There's this sense that you can just pick a character and play without being punished for not juggling everyone constantly. It's a much more traditional feeling, closer to something like Dark Souls or Monster Hunter. You pick a playstyle you like, and while you can switch characters at any time from the armory menu, you're not expected to rotate constantly to be effective. If you want to focus on one character, you can, and it works. Once you've locked in your character, you choose your melee and ranged weapons, and the game keeps things simple. Weapons are account-wide. You don't need to reassign or shuffle them every time you change characters. You set your loadout once, and it sticks. That alone cuts out a ton of micromanagement that normally bogs these systems down. Characters do have weapon proficiencies, but they don't hard lock you into anything. The damage difference is there, about 15%, but the more important thing is that you can still handle everything the game throws at you using the weapons and character style you enjoy. You're not being punished for choosing based on feel. Each character also comes with 2 main abilities, a skill and an ultimate. There's no complicated branching paths or multiple unlocked trees, just one skill and one ult, both of which you level up. For example, I played Rebecca, who drops an AoE minion that does solid damage on its own, and then uses her ult to detonate everything around her with a flashy cutscene finisher. It's clear, impactful, and you always know what tools you have available. That simplicity makes trying new characters feel painless. You're not relearning complex rotations or memorizing keybind setups every time you switch. The core structure stays the same: melee, ranged, skill, ult, so the barrier to entry is low. This will likely help if you've been away for a while. Some abilities are definitely less exciting, mostly stuff like generic buffs or low impact passives, but they're not common enough to ruin anything. Most characters feel ready to go right out of the gate. Then you've got a couple supporting systems layered in. There are these little dudes called Geniemons, which act as combat companions, basically Pokemon with an active and passive ability. They go on cooldown, they hit decently hard, and they stay equipped across all characters. It's a nice bonus attack, and once you've picked one, you don't find yourself considering a change often. Beyond that, there's a backpack system which acts as a secondary battle kit. You can assign health potions, emotes, and even summonable NPCs from your roster into it. Most of the time, these helpers don't matter much, they're mostly just there, but once you hit late game bosses, they become a little more relevant. I ended up using a healer in one of these slots and just called them in when needed. These characters drop in, use some light attacks, mostly range, and then hang around awkwardly like underpaid interns. Not useless, but rarely game changing. Same goes for the emotes. Most are just fun flair, but there are some standouts, including one where your character lays in bed in a way that's surprisingly hot. It's a weird system, but it adds flavor. Lastly, we have demon wedges. These are stat modifying items that give real boosts like bonus damage or faster attacks. They're applied per character and they're reusable. So if you switch, you don't have to redo your whole build from scratch. When you come back to that character you were playing earlier, all of this is still intact, even if you reuse the demon wedges. That one detail saves a lot of hassle and makes experimenting way easier than it has any right to be. So, overall, character setup in Duet Night Abyss just works, it's intuitive, it's player friendly, and it doesn't ask too much from you. You can go deep if you want to, or just pick someone cool and get to the action. I'm giving character setup an 8.5 out of 10. This is hands down the best movement I've experienced in a game since Just Cause. That same feeling of momentum, freedom, and precision is all there without the need for parachutes or grappling hooks. You start with the basic kit that feels smooth right away, but as you learn it, you realize it has actual depth. The more you practice, the better it feels, and when it clicks, you move through the world like a fucking superhero. The core tools are simple. You get a double jump right from the start, no unlocking required, it just works. You also get 2 dashes, which recharge over time, and they're mostly used for dodging or making small positional fixes. They're useful, but by far not the star of the show. Then there's the slide, which is done with control. It's not really faster than running on its own, but it flows cleanly into everything else. But the real magic comes from the slide-jump combo. It's a technique where you slide, then jump out of it. The game is super forgiving about when it lets you trigger it. Even if you just barely touch the ground, it's ready to go. The result is a fast directional launch that goes wherever the camera is pointed. Combine that with your double jump, and the heights you can reach are incredible. This combo is not just fast, it is the fastest way to move. So the dash ends up feeling more like a backup tool or something you use when you need a quick correction rather than your primary movement. One of the best things here is that none of this is stamina locked. The double jump, unlimited. The climbing, no meter. The movement tech, use it as much as you want. The dash has a cooldown, sure, but beyond that, you're never being slowed down just because you're using the tools the game gave you. Movement wants you to go fast. And then there's a move a lot of people might overlook, the mid-air hover. If you fire your ranged weapon while you're airborne, you'll hover in place. You do slowly descend, but you can float and reposition mid-air, or even just extend your horizontal travel by spamming shots. It's a subtle mechanic, but it adds a ton of movement potential when you need to reach awkward ledges or cross large gaps. The thing that really makes this movement feel special is how natural it feels to improve. You start decent, but within an hour, you are cracked. You're chaining slide jumps, popping hover shots, dodging midair, and it all builds on itself. It turns traversal into something that's just straight up fun to do, even when you're not fighting. The act of getting from point A to point B is satisfying on its own. In fact, it's so fluid that at times moving manually was actually faster than teleporting. That little loading screen when you fast travel, you could have already been there just by moving, and the whole time you're doing something cool. So movement, it's not just a system in Duet Night Abyss, it's one of the best parts of the game. It gives you freedom, flexibility, and that rare feeling of actually getting better at something just by playing more. I'm giving movement a 9.8 out of 10. The combat in Duet Night Abyss feels like one of those rare systems where everything has a niche, but nothing's overly complicated. The whole kit just works. You're given strong tools right away, and the game lets you figure out how you want to use them. It's tight, it's responsive, and it never gets in its own way. As mentioned before, you have melee and ranged attacks, a skill, and an ultimate. That alone gives you a lot to work with, and the moment-to-moment flow of deciding which one fits the situation just feels natural. You're not locked into combos or loadouts, you're playing in real time, adjusting to enemies, positioning, and pacing as it comes. Your melee hits hard. It's your strongest tool in most situations, while your ranged attack is more situational, better for poking or clearing from a distance. Your skills sit somewhere in the middle, with the ult being the biggest move. But what's interesting is that the balance isn't always what you'd expect. The basic ground slam melee attack is so strong that it sometimes outshines the ult, which takes longer to charge and cast. It's not a problem exactly, but it's something you notice. You might find yourself favoring a slam over a cinematic nuke just because it gets the job done faster. The way enemies react also plays a lot into that feeling. Light enemies get launched, grouped, staggered. It's very Lost Ark style where you're not fighting one dude at a time, you're managing an entire screen full of enemies. Then the game starts mixing in heavier ones, not harder, but tankier. It adds just enough pressure to make you think, without forcing you into sweat mode. It hits that sweet spot between chaos and control. And here's where things get really fun, the sanity system. It's your resource for casting skills and ults, and it's designed in a way that actually encourages you to use your abilities instead of hoarding them. You start with a pool, let's say 150 sanity, and your ult might cost 75. So if your cooldown's up and you've got the sanity, you can pop that ult twice in a row. No weird restrictions. And you refill your sanity quickly by killing enemies, which means the more aggressive you play, the faster you get your tools back. In practice, this feels fantastic. You're never just sitting there waiting on cooldowns. In fact, moves like your ultimate, I found, usually have the cooldown ready before you've regained the sanity to use it. The cooldown in my situation was about 2 seconds. That flips the usual design on its head, and it makes combat feel more like a rhythm than a rotation. You push, you wipe, you group, you ult again, it's fluid. All of that leads to a system where you naturally start building habits. Some weak enemies at a range, you right-click, pop them with your gun. Got a mid-sized pack, jump into the middle, and slam. Surrounded and overwhelmed, use your skill to clear space, and your ult to wipe the board. It all flows based on enemy type, spacing, and threat level. You're not memorizing combos, you're reacting and adapting. It's fun, like actually fun. I'm not some ultra sweaty min-maxer, I just want to feel strong and stay engaged, and this system delivered. Even when it was easy, it still felt cool. The bosses, we'll get into them more in the main content section, but for now I'll just say, they weren't hard, but they were satisfying. They brought variety without turning into walls. If I had one minor nitpick, it would be that the ground slam might be a little too effective. I found myself leaning a lot on it, maybe more than intended. But that's something small, it doesn't break anything. Same with a few moments where getting hit didn't feel super clear, but they were rare and easy to brush off. At the end of the day, the combat in Duet Night Abyss is just straight up fun to engage with. It's approachable, reactive, and gives you strong feedback every step of the way. Whether you're wiping crowds, chipping away at heavies, or just going ham with abilities, it gives you the freedom to play your way and rewards you for doing it well. I'm giving combat a 9.3 out of 10. Strap in for this one because there's a ton of stuff to do in Duet Night Abyss, but what really impresses me is how much of it actually feels worth doing. From main quests to side quests to commissions, the core content loop is packed, and more importantly, it's fun. Main quests are your standard story-driven objectives, but they're well structured and engaging. There's very little in the way of filler or fetch quest nonsense. Most missions focus on pushing the narrative forward or unlocking new systems, and I actually found myself paying attention, not skipping cutscenes just to get back to the grind. They're also really easy to manage. You can track or untrack them on the fly, and the go button next to each quest reliably sends you to the right place or menu. It's all very intuitive. Side quests take a different approach. They're scattered throughout the city and usually triggered by talking to NPCs. Some are locked behind a dynamic dice roll system where you need to pass a 1 to 100 check to proceed. But the odds are in your favor. You build up modifiers over time by simply talking to NPCs throughout gameplay, which increases your chances in future rolls. It's a clever way to gate content without making it feel arbitrary. What really makes side quests shine, though, is how naturally they fill out the world. People are constantly asking you for help. Sometimes I'll just roam around town and stumble into 6 or 7 new tasks without even trying. And while most side quests boil down to killing a few enemies or running a short errand, They often tie into the environment and local characters in ways that give the world real texture. It feels alive, like you're moving through a space where people actually live. Then you've got commissions, which are the main repeatable daily style missions. These run off a stamina system called Sanergy, and they're split into regular and covert commissions. Regular commissions come in a bunch of different types, but they're all riffs on a pretty simple formula. Go in, kill stuff, make sure you don't fail the objective, and walk away with resources. Some ask you to defend a point, others might have you racing against the timer, sneaking past enemies, or clearing waves. It's all built on that same foundation. You pick which type to run based on the reward you want, like coins, character XP, weapon XP, ascension materials, or demon wedge upgrades. It's more about resource targeting than varied gameplay, and honestly, that's fine. The combat is fun, so even if you're repeating similar scenarios, it doesn't wear thin too fast. Covert commissions are like time-limited versions of regular commissions. They reset daily and offer a rotating selection of missions divided into order, neutral, and chaos categories. Each one contains a couple different mission types, and the rewards vary depending on what you pick. These rewards are mostly upgrade materials for forging or enhancing weapons, and you can preview them before committing. It's a fast and efficient way to gather what you need, just don't expect any unique twist here gameplay-wise. Then there's the Noctoyager manual, which is essentially another commission type that doesn't cost Sanergy. You choose a target enemy type and get rewarded with demon wedges based on what you hunt. It's low maintenance and fits neatly into your normal gameplay loop. If you want something more intense, there's Nocturnal Echoes, a boss rush mode where you rematch major story bosses with scaled up difficulty. You can take on 3 per week regardless of which ones you choose, and they offer hefty rewards, including covert commission materials. So far I've unlocked rematches against Sybil, Crystallophile, and the Eclosioner, and they're legit challenges. If you like refining your build and pushing your limits, this is where the game delivers that pressure. On the opposite side of the spectrum, there's Mystic Maze, a surprisingly solid roguelike mode. You fight through waves of enemies with randomized upgrades, pick power-ups like extended melee range or regenerating shields, and finish each run with a boss fight. It's quick, punchy, and super satisfying. Even better, the runs reward a persistent currency you can spend on meta progression, so there's always a reason to go back. You can't use your backpack companions here, which makes it feel even more like a self-contained challenge mode, and a really good one at that. There's also something to be said about how smooth all of this is to navigate. Everything is clearly labeled, everything is easy to jump into, the game gives you a lot to do but never drowns you in it. You also know what you're working towards, whether it's farming upgrade mats, choosing a quest line, or just checking off dailies. The only real downside, the commissions start to blend together after a while. Even though there are several types, they're all slight variations on the same format. It would have been great to see more dramatic differences, or even just some randomized objectives or modifiers to shake things up, but that's a minor gripe in the grand scheme. All in all, Duet Night Abyss absolutely nails its core content loop. Whether you're in the mood for story, side stuff, challenge modes, or resource grinding, it's all there. And it's good. Main content gets a 9.5 out of 10. This is one of the strongest and most well-rounded parts of the game. Side content in Duet Night Abyss doesn't try to reinvent anything, but it adds enough flavor to round out the world without getting in the way. It's the kind of stuff you stumble into rather than chase, and most of it's just rewarding enough to feel worth doing. There's a decent variety of challenges baked into the environment, like performing runs where you use your movement tech to reach glowing checkpoints, or timed gun trials where you blast rock clusters before the clock runs out. They're forgiving but fun. Some of the movement-based ones even push you to chain together your side jumps and hovers in ways that feel like a soft tutorial for mastering traversal. And at the end, you usually get a chest with some useful resources. Nothing major, but it's a clean loop. Tied closely to these are avian spirit trials, which are available at fast travel points across the map. They load you into a separate mini area where you complete a short challenge, like dodging through rings, racing to a finish line, or pulling off some precision shooting. They're fast, varied, and slightly more structured than the open world versions. Some of them are even tricky enough to make you want to retry for a better score. And while the rewards are nothing crazy, they're a fun little diversion that adds just a bit more meat to the side activity pool. Fishing also shows up, handed to you as part of a side quest. It's got a Stardew Valley style minigame where you balance a bar over a moving fish. Pretty standard stuff. I'm still not sure what the fish are for, but the process is smooth and it doesn't waste your time. Then there's lockpicking, which is weirdly more varied than you'd expect. Some doors open by mashing the spacebar, others require timing inputs or syncing up a rotating dial, some are just destructible. You even get to open locks during combat without being interrupted, which is a nice touch. It shows up in different modes too, and while it's not a full mechanic on its own, it breaks up the pace in a good way. There's also resource nodes, like rocks you can break to collect materials for forging later. You'll spot these naturally while playing, and they're satisfying little pickups that don't pull you out of the flow. Then there's the Genimon capture minigame, which is about as quick as it gets. You interact with the creature, hit a time slider input, and that's it. The only confusing part is that the visual cues on the slider change essentially every time you play it, which makes it easy to misread. But once you get used to it, it's a 2-second interaction. What's great is you can actually keep playing afterwards. No animation, no detour. You catch it and move on. Scattered around the world are also standard treasure chests, which drop basic loot. They're fine, but because of how fast your movement is, it can be easy to overshoot them. You do need to slow down more than it feels natural to interact. That said, once you get better at controlling your movement, I found it to no longer be an issue. Some chests are locked with elemental effects, like flames or frost, and you'll need to hit them with certain weapons to open them. I did, however, find that the grenade launcher works for all of them, but only about 10% of the time. It turns into this awkward spam until it opens situation that doesn't really feel like a challenge or a reward, just extra steps for no reason. All of this adds up to a set of activities that don't feel essential but do help bring the world to life. Nothing overstays its welcome, it's fast, it's simple, and most of it is well executed. The only real complaint is that I wish there was more of it. Something like a casino or a dedicated side activity zone, just somewhere to go to spend time messing around when you don't feel like questing. Because what's here is good. I'd trust the team to expand more if they wanted to. I'm giving the side content a 7 out of 10. It wouldn't be a gacha game review without talking about monetization, and in Duet Night Abyss, it's classic. Not good, but classic. You've got banners, you've got limited characters, you've got weapons mixed in with character pulls. It's really the standard playbook. And if you spent any time in this genre, you already know how it works. You start with enough rolls to guarantee one 5-star character of your choice from a beginner banner, which is honestly a solid way to open. From there, it shifts to limited and standard banners. The pull count to reach pity feels high, not outrageous, but definitely not generous. Again, standard. The character power gap between rarities is noticeable, but not game-breaking. Even if you pull a few characters you didn't want or miss the ones you did, the game doesn't punish you for it. That's important. Duet Night Abyss gives you enough flexibility in its systems that you're not locked out of content just because you didn't roll the meta god tier waifu everyone's looking at. But here's the part where I admit the obvious. Gacha monetization is bad. It just is. It preys on players who don't have the income to comfortably engage with it, and it adds artificial friction to what would otherwise be a very pure experience. And even though I'm brain broken enough to say I actually like it, or at least that I don't mind it, I won't pretend it's a good thing. It's just a reality of the genre. That said, Duet Night Abyss handles it better than a lot of games. I haven't hit any content walls that require a specific unit. I haven't been pressured to roll to just keep up, and that raises the score here more than the monetization itself deserves. I do wish the cash shop was available right now, mostly because I want to roll more. The game nails the dopamine side of gacha, the animations, the sound, the effects, the build-up. It's all very clean. But just because it's fun doesn't mean it's ethical. There are still some safeguards in place. As I mentioned, a pity system does exist. The limited banner has a guaranteed unit after 90 pulls. The standard banner offers a guaranteed 5-star unit or weapon after 90 pulls. And that beginner banner I mentioned, you actually get to test out a bunch of 5-star characters before you choose one. But this is important to mention here. If you finish the banner before testing everyone, that option is gone. So test first, then finish your 50 pulls. Don't make my mistake. Look, this is a gacha game. If the idea of microtransactions tied to character progression turns you off, nothing here is going to save you. But if you've made peace with the format, what's here is functional, and it could be worse. I'm giving monetization a 6 out of 10, which is really as high as I would go for any gacha game. The atmosphere in Duet Night Abyss isn't trying to steal the spotlight, but it still leaves a strong impression. There's a surprising amount of life baked into the world, especially in the main city, and a lot of that comes down to how interactive things feel. You're not just walking through a static hub, you can sit on benches, hop into random parked cars, even honk on the horn. None of it's necessary, but it adds this layer of immersion that makes the space feel real. That same idea carries into the world design. There are actual characters who want to talk. not just fake conversations between NPCs running in the background. It's not perfect, there are a few lifeless filler spots, but compared to other games in the genre, this one puts way more effort into making its space feel used. And then there's the music, which absolutely crushed it. Every track I heard felt tailored to the moment, and it always enhanced the scene without overpowering it. It's the kind of soundtrack that just fits. I never muted it, didn't even think about muting it, and that for me is rare. Visually, the game also nails its tone. The art style is familiar if you've played games in this space before, but the architecture, city layout, and environment design stand out in a good way. It feels lived in, it feels stylish, and it gives everything a strong identity. The only thing I really felt was missing was a true hub sort of area, some kind of busy market district or gathering space where the city comes alive a bit more. As it stands, it's solid, but could have used that one anchor point to push it even further. Still, what's here works, and it works well. The game builds a vibe that's easy to sink into, with enough interaction and texture to keep it from feeling empty. I'm giving Atmosphere an 8 out of 10. This game is just fun as fuck. That's really the best way to put it. I've played a lot of games for review purposes lately, and usually, even the good ones start to feel like work. You hit a point where you're continuing not because you want to, but because you need to see enough to talk about, to get the footage, to finish the job. But Duet Night Abyss, it is the opposite. I don't even want to be making this video right now. I want to be playing more of the game. The combat is fluid, light, and satisfying. The movement is something I find myself doing even when there's no goal, just zipping around town for the sake of fun. It's genuinely fun to exist in this game. That sounds simple, but it really is incredibly rare. I keep booting it up in short bursts and then hours pass. It's that kind of experience, easy to start, hard to put down. Even without a quest to chase or a mission to grind, just running around, smashing crates, collecting junk, testing characters, it's all enjoyable. If there's one thing that slightly holds it back, it's the classic stamina system. Some modes are locked behind energy that regenerates over time, and that does occasionally keep me from doing what I really want to be doing in that moment. But even then, I still find myself playing just to be in the world. I fully recognize that I'm in the honeymoon phase right now. Maybe in a couple months I'll burn out, maybe not. But in this moment, right now, the fun factor is nearly off the charts. I'm giving it a fun rating of 9.5 out of 10. It's rare for a gacha game to pull me in this hard and this fast, and I don't want to stop. Look, we all know why the Goonability category exists. It's a gacha game. Half the reason people play these things is for the hot characters and jiggle physics, and Duet Night Abyss delivers. Nearly every character, male or female, is attractive. The women are hot, which of course means they're skinny, and of course wearing stockings, booty shorts, or tight outfits that make the most of the camera angles. The men are slim, chiseled, scarred up, and designed to be equally desirable in that anime prince with a tragic backstory kind of way. It's just a world full of beautiful people, and thank God for that. Characters like Rebecca straight up bend over every time you open her screen, with her tits in your face, back arched, and the game knows exactly what it's doing. Veronica has that long leg gothic mistress vibe with thigh highs, and Margie is rocking tiny booty shorts and a perfect body. And then there's Rhythm, who comes off as a police officer whose work attire includes stockings, thigh-high boots, and a revealing top. Even Daphne, who's more covered up, can have her look altered slightly by removing cosmetics to show a bit more skin. It's subtle, but it's there. It's kind of perfect that you can customize these characters, not just for stats, but for looks. And yeah, a little eye candy too. The guys? Randy is built like an underwear model with knives. The rest of the male cast also hits that balance of lean and lethal. It's not just a Coomer's paradise, it's equal opportunity eye candy. Now there is one character, Tabith, who rides that lolicon demon girl line. She looks young, but she's clearly labeled as a demon, so maybe there's a bit of plausible deniability going on. Is it weird? Yeah. Is it shocking in a gacha game? No, not at all, unfortunately. But there seems to be only one character that fits this category, and most of the cast avoids that particular pitfall. Hot characters or not, the game doesn't shove it in your face. There's no titty bounce every time someone talks. There's no cutscenes where the camera zooms in on someone's crotch. It's tasteful-ish. It's there if you want it, and if you're the type of player who's going to jiggle the model in the character screen just to see if anything moves, yes, they jiggle, then congratulations, you're home. I'll give props to the art team for knowing their audience without making the game feel like a parody of itself. The character designs are sexy. Not every game needs to be some gritty post-apocalyptic war zone filled with ugly trolls and dad bots. Sometimes you just want to play as and be surrounded by attractive people. Goon ability score, 8.8 out of 10. Good looking cast, solid physics, just the right amount of horny. So that puts Duet Night Abyss at an 86.19 total. I think it's pretty fair as a rating. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you liked the video, give me a like, follow, subscribe, whatever you do here. And peace.